Hi, my name is Ed Park. I'm one of the pastors here at Sanctuary Church. Thanks for clicking on this podcast video. I'm going to take a few minutes to recap about what we talked about last Sunday. So I got this buddy, right, who sends me these political YouTube clips that are kind of freaky extreme. It's crazy. It's crazy how polarized things have become in our culture. And when I say polarized, I mean we kind of skipped over the whole listening and trying to understand one another to you're stupid if you don't agree with my position, right? You're a bigot, or you're an idiot. That seems to be our cultural climate today. It's really polarized. Walls of hostility everywhere, and folks taking on a position of superiority in the differences. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see it in the media, you see it in the news. You can hear it in the conversations in coffee shops. It's kind of snuck into people's humor and jokes. This kind of, you're an idiot if you don't agree with me. It's gotten to the point where if you see protesters on TV beating up on people that you actually disagree with, you kind of find yourself, surprisingly, thinking, yeah, they deserved it. But sadly, the things that divide us aren't bad things, but more oftentimes they're good things, things that we're proud of, things that we agree about. But the human heart has this tendency to take our greatest virtues, to bolster our self-esteem by putting others down. There's nothing new about this. It's something that we've been doing since the beginning of time. We talked last Sunday of how the Jews did it with the Gentiles. In ancient past, God entrusted the Jews his divine law. It was meant to attract the world to God's beauty and to his character as it was lived out by the nation, like a moth to a flame. But instead, the Jews had taken God's law and they framed his commandments in a kind of a exclusionary manner, which, you can imagine just pissed off people. It created a wall of hostility between the Jews and the rest of the world, which again was not what God intended when he entrusted the law to them. We often do this with all kinds of beautiful things, right? Cultural values, environmental ethics, they all lose their beauty and their original intention when we use them to bolster our ego and look down on others. The church is notorious for this, right? Why do we do this? It's one thing to validate and to affirm one's ego, but what's up with this superior attitude in our differences? Case in point, Adam and Eve. They had everything in the garden, right? Resources, privilege, perfect health, freedom from oppression and trauma. They had everything except for one thing. They didn't have the throne of the Creator King. So in an act of cosmic arrogance, let's put it, they commit spiritual treason. Apparently having everything was apparently not enough. They wanted to trade places with God, which brings us to what I think is the greatest mystery of the Christian faith. Apparently having everything wasn't enough for the Creator King either. Despite, the treason and the betrayal, despite not lacking anything, remember God had infinite joy, eternal intimacy within his triune self, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's not like God needed us or anything like that, but despite all that, God decides in an act of cosmic humility to become one of us. He takes on flesh, and not just one of us, but our servant. How so? By trading places with us, by being our substitute. He lived the life of perfect submission that we could never live. And he died the death our treason deserved, to earn for us what we could never achieve. And what's that? An end to the war of all wars, right? And a seat at the royal table as a child of the High King. Now think about this. What could be more affirming and simultaneously humbling to the human heart than that. To the measure that we can receive this, our hearts will be healed and it will find peace. This is what we talked about last Sunday. I invite you to join us sometime. You can find us at sanctuaryseattle.org. I look forward to seeing you. Blessings.